Okay, so here we are back with an episode of Studio Life, our longer format, sort of studio-based show. I'm Dan Peters, and
I'm Sean Vincent.
He is Sean Vincent. So we're going to start like we do every week, I guess, Sean, with a little bit of news, are we?
Little bit of news, yeah, let's do that. So, what's been happening in our world? Well, first of all, I had a bit of a refit in here, as you may or may not notice. There was some acoustic treatment, some new bass traps, a new desk, some new monitors, some new bits of gear. Just general rewire, refit.
Sean's children have grown up, obviously.
Yeah, of course, yeah. And they don't live with me, so that's easier. So you have more money to play with, obviously. Anyway, so yes, studio refit recently, which is helping a lot. It's sounding rather good, looks nice, everything is cool. Bought some new gear. In the other show, Is It Shit, we have talked about the fact that I bought the SSL UF1, which is a really nice transport control and sort of desktop controller for your DAW. Very impressed with that. I also bought a pair of HRK ST552s.
I really just go back to that UF1. I love that hover, the select control, focus mode thing.
Focus mode is brilliant. Yeah, you basically hover the mouse over any control on your plugin, any plugin.
It's almost worth the money. It's almost worth the money for that, in my opinion. That's that's just the coolest thing.
It's very simple to use. Hover the mouse over any control, turn the knob, and it.
Quick select, isn't it? Did you code?
It's brilliant. Love it.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's very cool. Enjoyed that. And I bought a pair of these HRK ST552s, which it's a 500 series. No, you can't see them. They're down there. They're in the 500 rack. So they were recommended to me as a analog hardware emulation of analog tape in a 500 series unit. So you can buy a matched pair, and they are supposed to simulate the sound of having recorded on analog tape. And
are we doing this?
Well, yeah, kind of, yeah. So, very similar to the Rupert Neve design ones. If anything, I would say they probably sound a little bit better. Really nice. Kind of similar. There's a red and blue sort of control on the one of the things. You know, they have the Neve has the silk thing. This has something similar. But the tape section, the tape sort of saturation section, it's beautiful. Really sounds nice. Slight issue in that I ordered a matched pair, and when they turned up, only one of them works.
But that's not their fault.
No, because they give you a piece of paper in the package when you buy them, and
I think you need to read that while I get my cup of tea.
I'll quote. Yeah. So the last paragraph of the first section says, if you received HRK products and the delivery package is not damaged during the transport, it is impossible that you have received HRK units with a manufacturing defect or fault. A faulty product...
C'est impossible.
Impossible. A faulty product will not pass the testing process.
It's impossible.
There's then a whole section about how it won't work in a Cranbourne 500 rack, and some racks give them trouble. But I've got a pair. One of them works perfectly, the other one doesn't. It's only the tape emulation circuit that doesn't work. The other bit works fine. Signal still passes through it. Anyway, I did send them an email saying, I've received both of these, thanks very much. One of them works perfectly, the other one doesn't work. And I got a bit of a stroppy email saying, that's impossible.
C'est impossible.
Anyway, I've sent them a video showing them that one of them isn't working, and I haven't had a reply as yet. So I don't know what's happening with that. I'm really hoping they can sort it out, because I don't think it's very cool to put a note in a package saying, if this turns up faulty, it's not faulty. No. It's you. And the email I got basically told me that my studio was cabled up wrong, and that was the problem. But,
well, I've been trying to tell you, but, you know,
if I don't know how to plug in the studio now, I never will.
I was just admiring your little USB party.
My USB party.
Down there in the corner.
There is very few people more anal than me with cabling. Everything is ridiculously parallel and cable tied and nice and neat.
Yeah, it is. I'm certainly not one of those people.
No, you're not.
No.
Yeah. So I'm hoping they come good and sort it out, because I like it. The one that works does sound great, so I would like the other one to sound great, or at least to work. Anyway, that's kind of news for now.
News this week.
News this week, that's it. Which must mean it's time for plugin news. So, this week, first off, we want to talk about the PSP Stereo Controller 2.
Very, very cool. Did a review of this.
we did a review of this in our
That may or
main
may
show.
not have come out yet.
Yeah, may or may not, don't know yet. So 20 years ago, I reviewed their mix pack, which was, I think it was stereo pack, I think it was called. And it was a bunch of tools for adjusting stereo signals. And this is basically a plugin that does all of that stuff in one. If you're having issues, stereo issues, if one side is louder than the other, if the bottom end is louder on one side than the other, or the top end is louder on one side than this will fix that kind of stuff. Fixes phase issues, timing issues with stereo signals. It has stereo width control, all kinds of clever
Shows you
stuff.
stuff as well, doesn't it? It's got all the meters
It's got
that
the
you
meters
need on
built
it.
in. Really nice little thing for helping you out. If you're in mastering, it's a great tool to have. You know, and if you're mixing a lot of other people's work, and if some of that stuff has been recorded live down microphones where there are sometimes phase and timing issues, this will get you through. So, nice little thing that from PSP Audioware.
Very, very nice. We're big PSP fans.
Big time. Which means the next part of plugin news is another top 5, Dan.
Oh, now. People love a top 5.
People love a top 5.
We are, yeah. So we're going to give in to those needs. We're going to supply that demand, I suppose. And we're going to follow up our top 5 last week.
Top 5 last time we did was saturation plugins.
Oh, and how exciting was that?
It was pretty exciting.
Not very, I hear you say.
Well, no, you got very excited.
I did.
You enjoyed the game show style way we presented that. Next time we're going to look at mastering EQs, but this time we're doing a top 5 of mastering compressor plugins.
So this is part A, people.
Yeah. Okay.
Mastering compressors.
So we're going to start in at number 5. Now, like last time, before he says it, just because something's at number 5 doesn't mean it's bad. It's just not as good as what's at number 1. In our humble opinion, they're all good, but you got to put them in order.
So, Sean, what comes in at number 5?
In 5.
You got up yourself.
Can you?
No, you can't.
It's the Framework Shadow Hills Mastering Compressor.
Ah, very cool. So what makes this come in at number 5?
I like it very much. It's 2 compressors in one. There's an opto compressor and a discrete compressor. There's a transformer section. You can really give it some character.
Yeah.
But for me, it couldn't be my only mastering compressor. It's a bit too much character, and yeah, just not quite what I'm looking for. It's nice to add colour. I need something else compression-wise.
Good. We like Brainworks plugins. Often comes up for sale on Plugin Alliance, so keep an eye open for that. Currently on sale, I know for a fact, during filming, Brainworks SPL Ion Tube Comp in at number 4, Sean.
Yeah, so I use the Brainworks SPL Ion. Like Dan says, it is a tube comp, modelled on, obviously, the piece of hardware, as was the Shadow Hills. It sounds fantastic. It sounds almost identical to the hardware. Wonderful compressor for mastering, and it quite often gets used. I do use this. Sometimes it's not enough on its own. I generally like to use this just taking off like half a dB or maybe 1 dB, and I use it to add a little bit of colour. But again, for me, it's not quite good enough to be my only mastering compressor.
Okay, thank you very much. So, in at number 3, sounds like a science fiction film, the Elysia Alpha Compressor.
Yeah, so the Elysia Alpha compressor, again, modelled on a piece of hardware. The hardware is about 11 grand, I think. It's crazy expensive. But everyone that has one obviously loves it. I'd love it if I spent 11 grand on it. I would, even if I hated it, I would learn to love it for that kind of money. I quite like the plugin. I think it sounds pretty amazing. For me, it's the other way. It's very transparent. I know, I'm hard to please.
Here's the other way.
I don't find it offers enough colour on its own. It sounds great. It does sound great. It's a very good mastering compressor. But again, that's why it's number 3.
Okay, and at number 2, the Terry Pratchett Uranus Compressor.
Your eyes are really going.
Are they?
In at number 2 is the Tone Project's Unisum compressor.
Nearly.
Yeah, this is a new one to me. Tone Projects make the Basslane and Basslane Pro. I love their stuff. I use the Basslane quite a lot in mastering. So I found this kind of by accident whilst wandering around their website, and I absolutely love it. So it's a standard wideband compressor, but it has a multi-band detection circuit. So that, even though it's a standard wideband compressor, you can use 3 different bands to trigger it, which that starts putting it into the serious band of
3 different
mastering
bands?
compressors. 3 different bands. Yeah.
Use a band recorded last
Simple
week.
Minds, Blancmange, and Aha. Pick one of those 3.
Okay, very
And
good.
for
Which
his special
obviously
prize.
leaves at number 1, as I was going to say, ladies and gentlemen, before Sean got in there. Well, I'll let you, as you announced it.
Well, it has to be the Brainworks AMEC mastering compressor. This thing, you know, it's next level. I'm still baffled by it. I use it on almost everything in mastering, and it's just the perfect compressor to me. You can really get some incredible effects out of it, and you're still not hearing it destroy the signal at all. It sounds beautifully compressed. You get a real presence and a real lift in level without it squashing it to death. I think it's brilliant, and I think it's to do with those 3 detection circuits, and it works. Dan said in a little info video he did on Instagram a while back when we reviewed it on the channel, it uses RMS, so it's a slightly different way of working for a compressor. And those 3 detection circuits, there's fast and slow and peak, I find it really easy to set up, and it looks ridiculous. It looks very complicated when you first look at it. You think, oh god, I'm going to spend days getting my head around this. It isn't like that at all. Once you've set it up so that they're triggering at the right points with the specific material that's going into it, it just works.
Brilliant stuff. Thrilling stuff. I'm going to go and have a lie down now and prepare myself for the top 5 mastering EQs in part B.
Next week.
However,
week after, whenever.
Yeah,
soon.
Yeah. For now, let's move on to...
Rightio, so Retro Talk is the bit of the show where we discuss a piece of gear that maybe we have owned, maybe we haven't, but something we've used in the past that we no longer use, necessarily, and we miss. Something from our past that we think of fondly, working in recording, mixing, that kind of stuff. So, I'm going to throw it over to my colleague, Mr. Dan Peters.
Well, some of you out there may not know that I'm also not a musician.
Got to put my tea down, I'm going to spill it.
Sorry, just the look you gave me there. I say musician. But it means I own musical instruments.
He does.
So it means that when people start talking about retro gear, very often I don't get particularly excited unless it's about drums or guitars. And I uncovered one of my favourite guitars recently, because when is working, or when you very often only have one of your guitars out at a time. What is you?
Well, I'm just concerned my guitar was there. It's gone.
Oh right, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
So I was digging around, moved out, dig around in the loft. Out came this grey plastic guitar case I hadn't seen in a long time. Jackson Charvel.
When did you buy that?
So it's a 1986 Jackson Charvel that I purchased in about 1995.
Wow.
And it's metallic white, but it's gone that sort of yellow that you only people of a certain age will remember this colour yellow.
Oh, you mean nicotine yellow?
Yeah.
From pubs?
Yeah.
The woodworking pubs?
Old men's hair that you drink in working men's clubs. They always used to brush it with a comb. Do you remember that sort of nicotine-stained yellow? Yes, it's sort of that colour yellow now. But it was like my workhorse for years and years and years.
Wow.
And it's the ugliest guitar you've ever seen. And I sat down and played it, but it plays so well. Those of you that are guitarists will know Jacksons. They've got the nice wide necks, really easy to play. Action, Floyd Rose, humbuck, a couple of single coil pickups, all switchable, active guitar, beautiful. So
I'm starting to pick up that maybe dance music wasn't what you were into.
No.
Back in the day.
No. Well, that's part of the story, Sean, isn't it? I'm a failed rock star.
I bet you used to have long hair and everything.
I did, yeah.
Wow.
I did, long hair, good looks.
Where did it all go?
Yeah. Where did it all go? Dance music.
Does that?
Yeah. No, I didn't. I didn't always used to be into dance music, but a great guitar all the same.
Nice. Okay.
So there you go. There's my bit of retro talk. So my colleague Sean, I know that you're not quite so well. You are very musically minded, but not such a guitar sort of a chap. So what's your bit of retro gear?
My bit of interesting. While we're talking about guitars, my guitar, which was there and I can't see anymore, anyway, because you've probably moved it. I bought that on my 18th birthday, and 2 or 3 years later, at a party at a studio, for reasons I can't remember, I set fire to it and threw it down a flight of stairs. I was angry with it for whatever reason, and the next day I found it charred and all the strings are broken, obviously, because it had been on fire. The paintwork had all bubbled off. My friend repainted it, restrung it, and it's still working, and that was like 30 years ago.
It is a fairly solid chunk of wood, it's fair to say.
It's a serious...
Whatever it is, yeah.
Serious guitar, yeah. It'll survive anything.
You wouldn't want to be stood at the bottom of the stairs if somebody was throwing it down.
No.
A bit of wood that heavy whilst on fire.
I had some angry young man syndrome issues going on. They're gone now.
Yeah, grumpy old man syndrome
Grumpy old man syndrome now, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to my retro talk piece of gear. I can't remember what year it would have been, but I think roughly around maybe 97, I bought a Roland VS880, which was a hardware hard disk recorder.
Yeah.
And at that point in time, I was working mainly as a live engineer. I just stopped doing studio work for a while.
This was around the period we met.
This was just before we met, I think. Literally just before.
Yeah.
And I had... Ethan had just been born, my eldest, who's 25 now, so this was a while ago. And I wanted a recording setup at home again. So I had a PC running Logic. This was in the days before Logic could do audio, and the audio side of things was handled by the Roland VS880.
Ah, there you go.
8-track hard disk recorder with built-in compression and effects and all kinds of clever stuff. It was really cool, and the thing that I liked about it was very small, and it could write your masters to CDR.
What?
Which in those days... That was like unheard of.
Yeah.
I had people queuing up for me to burn them CDs of their tracks. So
that's crazy.
I fitted the whole thing in a portable flight case along with another mixer and some mics and stuff. And I used to go off and do mobile recording for people. Yeah. I put adverts up around in places and I did quite a lot of work with that. It was a very cool little thing. Obviously, it was only like 2 years later, whatever, that Logic started being able to record audio as well, and that was it. It got sold.
We had, I think we probably talked about this before. We had a program called Triple Dat that did it.
I remember Triple Dat.
Yeah, and it used to burn a, what was it called?
It did. It burnt a CDR, didn't it?
Yeah, but it used to burn like an image first.
Yeah, that's right. And then you had to finalise the image.
You finalise the image, otherwise it was like there's no audio. It used to put on the track markers and then put the audio on afterwards or something weird like that. You'd end up with just track markers that would count through the track, but no audio.
Triple Dat was strange.
It was, yeah.
I always thought it was a weird solution.
It was, yeah, very, very strange.
But it worked.
Software, yeah. Retro talk.
Yeah. Anyway, there you go. That was retro talk for this time. So that must mean it is time, Dan.
Oh, no.
For Hot Topic.
It's Hot Topic. Today's Hot Topic. We're gonna go deep. How deep? Well, I don't know. I guess we'll just see how deep it goes.
So, this time, Hot Topic, we are talking about those online experts who...
We're online. We don't claim to be experts.
We're just online.
We're just online. Before anybody clever tries to say anything.
There are people, you've all come across these people quite often on forums, who will have...
Depending on your persuasion.
Yeah, of course. They will have devoured so much information online, on forums and on YouTube channels like this maybe, and others, that they know literally every serial number to every compressor and EQ ever manufactured by anyone. And they will then argue amongst each other about which was the best optical compressor, which was the best, EQ from the 70s, which desk was the best at mixing trance. Honestly, they will argue for days with each other about this stuff. And I much preferred the 33609 compressor to the SSL G-Bus compressor. And I have a sneaking suspicion that a large percentage of these people have never used any of it. I think a lot of them have got their opinions from articles, videos, online stuff. They've probably used the plugins a lot and probably have got a fair amount of knowledge. But I got a kick in off one of them not long ago because I'd never heard of the hardware compressor the Teletronics made before the LA2A. So they made the UA176, I think it was called. And I'd never heard of it. Now, I basically got accused of not being a real sound engineer, even though I spent 30 years doing this and I've worked in many studios with many acts all over the place. It ain't my fault I've never seen one of those. It's not my job to learn the name of every piece of gear. But I got a proper, right, well, you don't know what you're talking about.
I think we should have a thing
Which
where
I found bizarre.
they should always be set like Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg are going to do it, where you have a cage fight.
Cage fight.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Audio nerds cage fight. I would pay to watch that.
Yeah, I would.
That would be awesome.
You could have a rule where you get to pick one bit of audio gear as a weapon, just one, but you don't get to know what the other person's chosen until you're in the ring.
Well, I was going to say a mag light, but then I suddenly realised I'd quite like an SSL and a crane. You just drop it on someone.
Yeah, you'd have to be in the ring. You've got to be able to pick it up. So it's got to be something. You've got to hit somebody with it.
1176.
1176,
quite sharp edges.
I know, but you're A176.
But you know what I mean?
I believe they used a heavier transformer, which means that the bruising will be...
This is what I'm talking about. So, like, you know, we have real-world experience of using this gear, and other people who've never used it will tell me that I'm wrong about my opinion about it because of stuff they've read elsewhere.
Well,
and I just think, I know it's never going to get fixed, but it is so frustrating. How do you...
I've reached a point in my life where I just think if people are going to waste their time, first of all, having opinions, but second of all, sharing them with other people, then by the time you've started sharing it, I've stopped listening.
That's what we're doing.
What, sharing our opinions?
Pretty much.
Well, yeah, but nobody's listening.
No one's listening. No one out there.
No. They're all tuned off by now.
But it's interesting. There's two very different kinds of viewers, shall we say, that we have, and people that comment on our videos. There's people that are very...
it's not. It's a spectrum. We're viewer fluid.
I didn't mean that.
Oh, didn't you?
No, I don't want to get cancelled. I just mean that generally they fall into one of several camps. One of which is that they will be constantly looking for errors to pick up on.
Any camp they want to fall into, they can,
That's
can't
fine.
they?
That's fine.
Yeah, it's absolutely No, it's nondescript.
But others have a sense of humour and understand that
they do.
Well, not everyone knows everything. We might pretend to know everything sometimes, but we don't. I just find it quite an interesting landscape to work in, and I've seen other YouTubers burn out because they're sick of dealing with it.
You do, and you get, you meet a lot of people in this game that are know-it-alls, don't you? You just learn very quickly to identify them very quickly and to start ignoring them equally quickly.
I think that's true.
But then again, also, sometimes you can learn things from these people if you're able to filter the information. I think perhaps...
I learned something of that.
It was perhaps the carrier, not the... the mode, not the message.
That's a good way of looking at it. Yeah. No, I did learn something. I went and researched that. I looked into it. I'm like, oh, yeah, there it is.
Go.
I've never seen one. No idea why I'd never seen one.
Yeah.
Which brings up another conversation, actually. I was talking to someone the other day, and we were saying how weird it was that in sort of the early 2000s, no one wanted an 1176 from LA2A in the studio. It was like there was a period of time where they were worth next to nothing.
Yeah.
They weren't... I mean, what year do you think they started remaking the LA2A?
I don't know.
99.
Really?
There was years where they didn't make them because no one wanted them.
This is the thing. Go on. Sorry,
well, it's interesting that there was this massive lull in their popularity and their price, and you could, if you went back in time now to then, you could buy a bunch of this esoteric gear, make a fortune.
I was making notes on various things recently, and that was one of the things that came up thinking about this digital analog thing, and how we're now reviewing all of these analog representations of digital representations of analog gear. And people sort of, especially with recording and of course mixing digital audio in a live situation scenario, people expected it to be the same or better, even though the main carrier or the main translator, the console or the recording kit had gone from being had completely changed physics. It had gone from being an analog method to a digital method, and people expected it to sound the same, a compressor to do a similar thing. And it seems now, with the benefit of hindsight, so much is different with the benefit of hindsight in life, you learn.
Yeah,
don't you?
yeah.
But how did people ever think that anything was ever going to sound anything like those old records that you know?
Well, do you know what? Something else that I thought of the other day is I was trying to work out what was happening in that time that meant those pieces of gear were so not wanted. And it was the beginning of digital recording. So we had incredibly clean recording for the first time ever,
Yeah.
like no noise. And then you had this thing in the corner of every studio called a patch bay, where everything connected to it, especially your old analog compressor.
Yeah.
And obviously compressors raise level, bring noise with it.
Yeah.
So basically, patch bays were just a noisy lump of crap in the corner of your
Yeah,
studio.
yeah.
You plug it into your nice digital recording system.
And it makes a load of noise.
Makes a load of noise, so people wanted to get rid of it, which
Yeah.
is why for a little while we were using digital compressors.
Yeah.
We were using anything that didn't make any noise.
Weird.
And it was later that we worked out ways to get around it. But yeah, weird.
There we go. And that
That was Hot
topic.
Anyway, so there we go. That's Studio Life for another episode. That was episode 5, believe it or not.
Goodness me, episode
Wow.
5. So look forward to
Episode 6.
There we go. See you then.
Hang on.
But
While we're here, so a few things. First of all, obviously, like, subscribe. There's the Instagram Studio Life 101. There's the Patreon. There's the merch stand. Also, we have a new show coming very soon called the Studio Life Studio Invasion, which is where we come to you. We come to your studio. You show us what gear you're using, how you're using it. Show us your plugins, show us your monitors, show us whatever it is you want to talk about. We then help you with any issues you're having, whether it's mixing, mastering, some kind of studio setup, acoustic problems, whatever it is. And we'll talk about it and we'll make a show out of it, and you can tell us whatever it is you're working on. So get in touch. If you're interested in that, leave a comment, get in touch somehow, and we will come to you.
and make cups of tea.
Yeah. Well, you make the cups of tea.
Good idea, Sean.
I think that's a better plan.
See you later.
See you soon.